Hello my dear children, welcome back to Let's Learn English. I'm Shivani, your English teacher. Students, today I'm going to explain this poem line-wise. In my previous video of Oh Captain, My Captain, I discussed few things about poem and the background of the poem. This poem is written by Walt Whitman and it was written in 1865 and it also got published in the same year, 1865. In 1865, there was one more incident which was very important for USA. That was Civil War. After Civil War, Abraham Lincoln won that war. It was in a favor of Abraham Lincoln, but it was at the cost of assassination of Abraham Lincoln. Walt Whitman, who never really met Abraham Lincoln in his life, was very much inspired by his work. So he wrote this poem to give a tribute to Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln was the 16th president of USA and he did a lot of great work for USA. He fought for slavery. He was the first black person to become president in USA. So he fought against racism. Racism means discrimination on the basis of color. So here goes the poem. This is the first paragraph of the poem. Oh Captain, my Captain, our fearful trip is done. The ship has weathered every wreck. The prize we sought is won. The port is near, the bells I hear. The people are exulting, while follow eyes the steady Nile, that vessel grim and daring. This poem is a metaphor. This poem is a big example of metaphor because here we, the poet refer captain to Abraham Lincoln and the ship is USA. So don't forget these two things, okay? So the poem starts with the line, Oh Captain, my Captain, our fearful trip is done. Now, the poet is saying, okay, he's calling out his captain and he's saying that, hey Captain, look, here our fearful trip is done. We have finally completed our fearful trip. हम जिस ट्रिप पे गए थे जो कि एक बहुत ही fearful ट्रिप थी वो अब पूरी हो चुकी है. The ship has weathered every wreck. Weathered means withstood, किसी चीज़ का सामना करना, and wreck means every step. Okay, सारी मुसीबतों का. So जो हमारी शिप है उसने सभी तरीके की मुसीबतों का सामना कर लिया है. Our ship has faced all the challenges and it has overcome all the problems. The prize we sought is won, and the prize we were looking for, sought is the past tense of seek, ढूंढना, खोजना, is won. Means the prize for which we were struggling, वो प्राइज़ जिसके लिए हम स्ट्रगल कर रहे थे, जिसके लिए हमने ये ट्रिप की थी, वो पूरी हो गई है. And finally, we have won this prize. The port is near, the bells are here, the people are exulting. And now he says to his captain that, look my captain, the port is near, the shore is near. वो कहता है देखो किनारा आ चुका है, किनारा बहुत पास है, दिख रहा है. The bells are here. He says further that I can hear the bell. He said that I could hear the bell. Okay. The people are exulting. Exulting means joyous. Joy, enjoy करना. वो कहता है मुझे दिखाई दे रहा है कि जो पोर्ट है वो पास में है और लोग क्या कर रहे हैं, बेल्स बजा रहे हैं. वो सब बहुत खुश हैं. They are celebrating. All the people are exulting. All the people are celebrating. They are very jovial. They are very happy. They have gathered at the port to enjoy, to celebrate. While follow eyes the steady Nile. Steady means which is a still. Vessel is used here for the ship itself. Grim means hard, kathor. ठीक है? So the people who were standing at the port, their eyes were following the ship. Okay, their eyes were following the hardship. Why it is used hardship here? Because that ship has faced many problems, Okay, that ship has weathered from every rack, every problems, every situations. So the people who were standing, who were who were making a crowd and they were standing at the port, their eyes were following the ship everywhere. So the line first to four goes like, the first lines of the poem serve to become the controlling metaphor upon which the rest of the poem builds. A metaphor is simply a figure of speech in which one thing is substituted for another, and a controlling metaphor is a metaphor that impacts, controls, or unifies the entire poem. So as I've told you, this poem is a big example of a metaphor. In this poem, the captain is a substitute for Abraham Lincoln and the ship is the United States of America. The fearful trip is the Civil War, which has ended just prior to Lincoln's assassination. यहाँ पर ट्रिप की बात की गई है वो सिविल वॉर की ट्रिप की बात की गई है जो कि अब्राहम लिंकन जीत गए थे जस्ट उनके असैसिनेशन से पहले. Thus, the ship is returning home to cheering crowds having won the prize of victory, just as the Union led by Abraham Lincoln had returned victorious from the Civil War. The utterance, "O Captain, my Captain," is particularly interesting in his light. In one sense, the speaker is addressing his captain directly, but in another respect, he seems to be speaking to himself about the captain. ठीक है? पोएम की फर्स्ट लाइन में आपको ऐसा लगेगा दैट द स्पीकर इज टॉकिंग टू कैप्टन, बट व्हेन यू विल रीड द पोएम फर्दर यू विल रियलाइज द कैप्टन इज नॉट द स्पीकर इज नॉट एक्चुअली टॉकिंग टू कैप्टन बट ही इज टॉकिंग टू हिमसेल्फ. वो खुद से ही बातें कर रहा है कैप्टन के बारे में. द रिपीटेशन हेल्प्स टू एसर्ट द अनसर्टेनिटी ही फील्स एट द कैप्टन्स लॉस. अभी तक की 4 लाइनों में कहीं पर भी ये शो नहीं किया गया है कि जो कैप्टन हैं वो ख़त्म हो चुके हैं, वो हैं नहीं दुनिया में और उनके लॉस के लिए वो पोयम लिख रहा है. अभी तक कहीं पर भी ऐसा शो नहीं किया गया है. Okay, let's move forward. But oh heart, 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 oh the bleeding drops of red, where on the deck my captain lies, fallen, cold and dead. So line 5th to 8th, okay, in these lines it communicates the unpleasant news that the captain has somehow fallen dead after the battle. Okay, now in 5th and 6th line you will get to know that the captain is actually no more. The captain is dead. The bleeding drops of red were on the deck of my captain. So he says, you know, but oh heart, 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 it's just the expression for the grief. He's expressing his grief over the loss of captain. वो बहुत ज़्यादा दुखी है इसलिए वो इस तरीके से कह रहा है. आगे वो कहता है कि उसका जो डेक है शिप का, ठीक है, वो जो शिप का डेक है उस पे उसका जो कैप्टन है उसके ड्रॉप्स ऑफ ब्लड, ओके, इट्स the drops of bloods were flowing and his body was fallen there cold and dead. So communicate the unpleasant news that the captain has somehow fallen dead after the battle. More importantly, the repetition of heart, heart, heart communicates the speaker of the poem's dismay and horror at realizing that his captain has died. So these lines are showing grief, okay? The poem is then as much about the I of the poem and how he comes to terms the grief, how he processes this information, as it is about the central figure of captain. The bleeding drops of red are both the captain's bleeding wounds and the speaker's wounded heart. सो ये जो ब्लीडिंग ड्रॉप्स ऑफ रेड शो किया गया है ये कैप्टन के ब्लड के लिए तो कहा ही गया है, लेकिन ये स्पीकर के वुंडेड हार्ट के लिए भी कहा गया है. वाई हिज हार्ट इज वुंडेड? टू सी हिज कैप्टन डेड. ठीक है, उसका जो हार्ट था दैट वॉज ऑल्सो वुंडेड जस्ट टू सी हिज कैप्टन लाइंग देयर डेड एंड कोल्ड. फाइनली दीज लाइन्स फंक्शन as a broken heroic couplet, a 2-line rhymed verse that originated in a heroic epic poetry and is usually, as is the case with these lines, written in the impact. Okay, leave this is not for your use. Okay, so oh captain, my captain, rise up and hear the bells. Rise up, for you the flag is flung, for you the bugle trills, for you bouquets and ribbons wreaths, for you the shore crowding, For you they call, the swaying mass, their eager faces turning. So in these lines, okay, in the second stanza, the speaker of the poem, he talks to his captain. He asks his captain that, oh my captain, please rise up. Please hear the bells that I'm hearing. Please rise up and please see. Please watch the people. They are flying their flags for you. ये जो सारे लोग हैं, ये जो बेल्स बजा रहे हैं, ये तुम्हारे लिए बजा रहे हैं. ये जो लोग हैं जो झंडे फहरा रहे हैं, तुम्हारे लिए फहरा रहे हैं. ये जो बुगल बज रहे हैं, हर जगह विगुल बज रहे हैं, लोग जो विगुल बजा बजा के हमारे स्वागत कर रहे हैं, ये तुम्हारे लिए कर रहे हैं. फॉर यू द बुकेट्स एंड रिबन्स रेड, ये जो लोग बुके लाए हैं, रिबन्स लाए हैं, मालाएँ लाए हैं, ये सब तुम्हारे लिए है. फॉर यू द शोर्स क्राउडिंग. ओके, सो इट्स यू फॉर होम the people who are gathered at the shore are cheering for you. Shore से crowding means जो लोग शोर पे क्राउड बनाकर खड़े थे, झुंड बनाकर खड़े थे गुच्छे में, उनके लिए कहा जा रहा है कि ये जो लोग खड़े हैं शोर पे क्राउड बना के, ये तुम्हारे लिए आए हैं. ठीक है, दे ऑल हैव कम जस्ट टू वेलकम यू. For you they call and they are cheering, they are calling for you my captain. The swaying mass, the people who are gathered there, they are very happy. ठीक है, वो सब एक झुंड बना के ग्रुप में खड़े हुए हैं. देयर ईगर फेसेस टर्निंग, और जैसे ही हम लोग अपने शोर के पास आने लगते हैं, ऑल द पीपल दे जस्ट स्टार्ट टर्निंग देयर फेसेस, दे जस्ट स्टार्ट लुकिंग फॉर आवर शिप. So in the 9 to 12 stanza, okay, in 9 to 12 lines in the second stanza, the speaker of the poem entreats his captain to rise up and hear the bells. In essence, the speaker laments मतलब शोक मनाना, दुख व्यक्त करना. ठीक है, laments that his captain, having led his crew bravely to victory, will not receive the fanfare that is just his due. मतलब अब जो उसे, जिसके वो काबिल था, जो उसे मिलनी चाहिए थी, जो रिस्पेक्ट, जो फेम उसे मिलना चाहिए था, अब वो नहीं मिल पाएगी. At the same time, Whitman blends two distinct scenes, one in which crowd gathers to receive and celebrate the Captain Lincoln upon his return from military victory, and the second in which people gather to lament him as a fallen hero. The bells of the second stanza are presumably the bell rung in the celebration of military victory. However, knowing the great captain and leader has died, the bell might also be symbolized funeral bells tolled in mourning. Similarly, the flag is flown in horror of the captain, both as the symbol of rejoicing and victory, and a symbol of lamentation, as in the tradition of flying the American flag at half-mast when a respected American dies. तो यहाँ पर जितनी भी चीज़ें यूज़ की गई है उसके दो मतलब हैं. जैसे लोग जो आए हैं सेलिब्रेट करने, ठीक है, लोग आए हैं सेलिब्रेट करने की कैप्टन के वेलकम के लिए, लेकिन जब उन्हें पता चलेगा कि उनका जो कैप्टन है ही इज़ ऑलरेडी डेड, तो वही लोग क्या हो जाएंगे, वही लोग फ्यूनरल के लिए इकट्ठा हो जाएंगे. सिमिलरली जैसे फ्लैग लोग फहरा रहे हैं कैप्टन की विक्ट्री शो करने के लिए, लेकिन जब उन्हें पता चलेगा कि अब उनका कैप्टन नहीं रहा है, तो वही फ्लैग क्या हो जाएगा, उनके एक रिस्पेक्टेड इंसान की डेथ के ऑनर में, ट्रिब्यूट में वो लोग फहराने लगेंगे. ओके, लेट्स मूव फॉरवर्ड. हियर कैप्टन, डियर फादर, दिस आर्म बीनेथ योर हेड. नाउ the speaker refers his captain as his father. Who is father? Father is the one who shows us the right path. And in these lines, in this poem, the captain was showing everybody the path. Speaker जो था वो उसकी डेथ से इतना ज़्यादा दुखी हो चुका था कि अब वो इन लाइन्स में उसको कहता है कि माय कैप्टन, माय डियर फादर, दिस आर्म्स बीनेथ योर हेड, ये जो मेरे आर्म्स हैं, ये जो तुम्हारे सर के नीचे हैं. कैसे सर के नीचे हैं? जो कैप्टन था, ही वॉज लाइंग डेड ऑन द डेक ऑफ द शिप. ओके, एंड ही वॉज नाउ इन दीज लाइन्स, ही वॉज इन द आर्म्स ऑफ द स्पीकर. स्पीकर ने अपना हाथ जो था, अपने हाथ के ऊपर उसका सर रख लिया था, उससे अपने हाथ में उठा लिया था उसकी बॉडी को. Okay, in the next group of lines, the speaker of the poem again entreats his captain to hear. In this case, he may be referring to the bells of the first stanza, or perhaps to himself, his place. More importantly, the speaker of the first time calls his captain father. In this manner, Whitman expands the metaphor for Lincoln beyond the limited scope of a military leader of men into a father figure, or one whose wisdom and teachings led his children into adulthood. अब यहाँ पे जो अब्राहम लिंकन की क्या कह सकते हैं कि तारीफ़ थी, जो उपाधि थी, उसको एक कैप्टन से बढ़ा के एक फादर, एक पिता के रूप में कर दी गई. द पोएम सेलिब्रेट्स लिंकन एज मोर देन अ सिंपली ग्रेट मिलिट्री लीडर हु लेड द यूनियन टू विक्ट्री ड्यूरिंग द सिविल वॉर एंड अटैचेस हिम टू अ ब्रॉडर सिग्निफिकेंस एज द फादर ऑफ द न्यू पोस्ट स्लेवरी कंट्री. अब यहाँ पे लिंकन की जो इम्पोर्टेंस थी उसको एक मिलिट्री लीडर से, जो कि सिविल वॉर को रास्ता दिखा रहा था, उससे आगे बढ़ा के उसको एक फादर की उपाधि दे दी गई, जिसने वहाँ पर अमेरिका में स्लेवरी के खिलाफ, रेसिज्म के खिलाफ लड़ाइयाँ लड़ी और सही रास्ता दिखाया लोगों को. इट इज़ सम ड्रीम दैट ऑन द डेक यू हैव फॉलन कोल्ड एंड डेड. नाउ द स्पीकर इज so surprised, the speaker is so disheartened with the death of his with the death of his captain, that he says these lines, that it is some sort of dream that you are here, that your body is cold, that you have fallen on the deck of the ship, that you are lying in my arms. Okay, so in these lines the speaker asserts that this must be all a bad dream. वो मानने को नहीं तैयार है कि ये एक रियलिटी है, वो ये सोचता है कि ये एक नाइटमेयर है. Here the poem captures the speaker's denial. The emotional impact of Lincoln's demise has made it almost impossible for the speaker to accept it. जो स्पीकर है वो उसके लिए एक्सेप्ट करना मुश्किल हो रहा है कि उसके जो फादर हैं, उसके जो कैप्टन हैं, वो अब नहीं रहे. The refrain fallen cold and dead is slightly alerted in this stanza, in that is apparently addressed to the captain. The effect is to again reinforce the speaker's difficulty in coming to terms with the captain's death. Even though his captain is dead, the speaker continues to speak to him as though he were alive. उसका जो कैप्टन था वो अब नहीं था, वो अब मर चुका था, लेकिन स्पीकर इस बात को मानने को तैयार नहीं था और वो अभी भी कैप्टन से बातें किए जा रहा था कि मुझे यकीन नहीं हो रहा कि तुम अब नहीं हो, या उठो, मेरी आवाज़ सुनो, लोगों को देखो. ही वॉज नॉट रेडी टू एक्सेप्ट द डिमाइस ऑफ अब्राहम लिंकन. माई कैप्टन डज नॉट आंसर. His lips are pale and still. My father does not feel my arm. He has no pulse nor will. Now he says in these lines that his captain was no longer able to reply. उसका जो कैप्टन था वो अब बिल्कुल रिप्लाई नहीं कर रहा था. His lips were dull, his lips were yellowish, okay, and his lips were very still. There were no movement on his lips. उसके होंठ पे कैप्टन के कोई मूवमेंट नहीं था. उसके जो लिप्स थे वो एकदम ड्राई हो चुके थे, एकदम सूख चुके थे और वो कोई रिप्लाई नहीं कर रहा था. My father does not feel my arm. And in these lines he realized, the speaker realized कि उसका जो फादर है उसे उसके आर्म्स भी महसूस अब नहीं हो रहे हैं. ठीक है, उसका जो फादर है उसकी जो पल्स रेट है, ही हैज़ नो पल्स, उसकी जो पल्स रेट है वो ज़ीरो हो चुकी है. नॉर विल मीन्स इच्छा. ठीक है, ना ही उसके अंदर उसके पल्स रेट बची है और ना ही उसके अंदर जीने की कोई इच्छा बची है. द स्पीकर ऑफ द पोएम, नो लॉन्गर एबल टू होल्ड आउट होप, faces up to the reality of his captain's death. The detailed and images evoked in these lines all serve to reiterate that the captain is deceased. His pallid lip, lack of a pulse, and lack of will. Unlike me, to previous stanzas, the speaker in no way addressed his captain directly, but speaks of him entirely in the third person. In this sense, he has finally accepted that his captain is dead. Now, in these two lines, it seems like he is talking to somebody else. It seems like he is talking to some third person. ऐसा लग रहा है जैसे वो किसी थर्ड पर्सन से ये सारी चीज़ें बता रहा है कि देखो मेरी जो कैप्टन है वो रिप्लाई नहीं कर रहे, देखो जो मेरे कैप्टन है उनके होंठ जो है वो सूख चुके हैं, उनके अंदर जीने की कोई इच्छा नहीं बची है. मतलब इस लाइन में हमारे जो स्पीकर हैं उन्होंने ये एक्सेप्ट कर लिया है कि उनके जो कैप्टन है वो अब इस दुनिया में नहीं रहे, वो उनकी डेथ हो चुकी है. The ship is anchored safe and sound. Its voyage is journey, ship journey. Okay, Samudri Yatra. Closed and done. From fearful trip, the victor ship comes in with object one. Exulto shore and ringo bells, but I with mournful tread. Walk the deck, my captain lies, fallen cold and dead. Okay, so finally, हैविंग फेस्ड अप टू हिज कैप्टन्स डेथ, मतलब उसने ये एक्सेप्ट कर लिया कि उसके कैप्टन की डेथ हो चुकी है. द स्पीकर देन टर्न्स हिज अटेंशन बैक टू रिसेंट विक्ट्री. लाइन 19 to 24 suggest again the internal division suffered by speaker of the poem. Having accepted that his captain is indeed dead, it would seem he can now return his attention to the military victory. वो ये देख चुका था कि उसके जो कैप्टन थे वो इस दुनिया में नहीं रहे थे, लेकिन वो साथ ही साथ ये भी अब महसूस कर रहा था कि हाँ उन्होंने ये विक्ट्री हासिल कर ली है, वो ये जंग जीत चुके हैं. आफ्टर ऑल वन कुड श्योरली आर्ग्यू दैट द प्लाइट situation of an entire nation of the people far outweighs the fate of a single man. मतलब जो सिचुएशन थी पूरी कंट्री की वो सिर्फ एक इंसान के फेट पे टिकी थी. वो एक इंसान तो चला गया बट ही चेंज्ड entire nation. Nevertheless, the speaker of the poem chooses the individual over the larger nation. While Exulto Shore and Ringo Bell is explicitly a call for rejoicing, the speaker himself will not celebrate but will walk with mournful tread, knowing that his captain is indeed fallen cold and dead. The speaker thus celebrates the end of the civil war but continues to express his need to mourn his fallen hero. Means in these lines, in these last lines, he says that finally they have overcome with this journey, they have successfully completed this journey, and now उसका जो ध्यान है वो फिर से लोगों की तरफ जाता है. वो फिर से देखता है एक्सल्टो शोर एंड रिंग्स ऑफ बेल, वो फिर से देखता है लोगों को एंजॉय करते हुए, शोर पे चिल्लाते हुए, आवाज़ देते हुए, बेल्स बजाते हुए. वो कहता है कि लोग सेलिब्रेट कर रहे हैं, लोग खुश हो रहे हैं, बट आई with mournful tread, I will walk with mournful tread, I will not celebrate. Why he will not celebrate? Because he has seen his captain lying there dead and cold. He walked from there with a mournful heart, he walked from there with a heavy heart, because he was watching his captain lying there cold and dead. So students, this was it about the poem. I know this poem is one such a beautiful poem of class 8th. Okay, this poem is a touching one, although this poem is about USA, but this poem is a really patriotic kind of poem. When you will read the poem with wholeheartedly, you will have goosebumps. This poem is one such good poem, and in the next video we will discuss the question answer of this poem. If you feel any confusion, okay, you are free to ask me in the comment section. We will meet up again in the next video. Till then, take care and stay safe.